Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is another installment of Physical Media Madness. And I don't have as big of a stack, or honestly, as many stacks as I had in the last video, because I've had to slow down a little bit. But that doesn't mean that I am quitting entirely or going cold turkey. I still have some pre orders and I still have some stuff that I'm waiting for in the mail right now. I'm still waiting for some more titles that I ordered from Kino Lorber during their summer sale. I ordered a few more titles before the end of their sale uh, recently. I'm waiting for an import of Predator 2 in 4K from eBay, from I believe Rare Waves is the name of the company, because for whatever reason it never got a standalone release in the US, only overseas. And I also pre-ordered Opera from Severin, and I also bought a bunch of other random Severin Blu-rays from the recent sale because the prices were really good. It was a good deal. And I pre-ordered the Hitcher from Second Sight, which is honestly one of my most anticipated releases of this year. I am highly anticipating and highly looking forward to that one. And the only other one I could think of in terms of a release that I know about that I am as psyched about is Trick or Treat. Like, I can't wait till that pre-order link drops because I'm gonna lock that in as soon as possible, because I've been waiting for a proper release of that film for a long time. I think it's very underrated. It's a lot of fun. It's got a great soundtrack, and in my opinion, it's still the best heavy metal horror movie. So yeah, I can't wait for that release. And I don't know what else is going to come down the pike, or what other titles might be announced. I have a feeling that some of these other labels have some aces up their sleeve that they're not going to reveal just yet. But until that time comes, that's really what I have in store for the future in terms of orders or pre-orders or any of that sort of stuff. Now, I'm going to start out showing a few 4Ks, and then I'll show mostly a handful of Blu-rays that I got from Umbrella and Kino Lorber, and some local thrift shops, and one DVD set that I got from Umbrella, and then I'll check out Dawn of the Discs and discuss some upcoming releases. So I'm going to start out with the limited edition 4K steelbook of Twister. Now, when I first saw this cover art, I wasn't really that impressed. I thought it looked just kind of lame and dull. But seeing it in person, I actually have grown to like it. I like the artwork. It's simple, but I think it still works really well, and I like it a lot more than the slip cover for the non-limited edition. And I haven't watched this all the way through, but I did check it out just to see what the transfer looks like. First impression is that it looks fantastic, and the Atmos track is amazing. So I am really looking forward to revisiting this again in 4K. And I'm going to check out Twisters as well. Probably see that with my stepdad later this week. And I'm also going to do a new review of Twister for the channel, because the old review I did is like almost an hour long, and I love the movie, but I really don't. I just want to do another review that's just a little bit more stripped down, not as in depth, because I did a lot of research for that one in terms of like the backstory and everything. Um, the next 4K I have here is North Dallas 40 from Kino Lorber. This is, in my opinion, a really underrated gem of a movie. I loved this film. I thought this film was great. I did a review of it on my channel. Check it out if you want to see my thoughts on it. This is definitely the best this film has ever looked. It's got a new 4K scan, and there's a couple features, but really, the reason to get it is for the transfer. Um, and Yeah, I highly recommend it if you're a fan of sports films or football movies in particular. I think it's one of the best football movies out there, and it features one of Nick Nolte's finest performances. And speaking of sports, the last 4K I got is the Rocky Ultimate Knockout Collection. Now, this set has, let's just say, a lot of positives, a lot of pros, but it also has a few cons. For one, a major pro is that Warner Brothers did include all of the corrected discs for Rocky 1 through 4. So it's not one of those things where you have to ask for a replacement disc. You get the replacement discs in this set. So that's definitely a plus. But at the same time, why did there have to be replacement discs in the first place? But that's a whole other argument altogether. But at least they included the fixed discs in this set. I don't know if they fixed the digital codes yet, because I remember when I got this in the mail, there were a lot of people online who were like, these digital codes don't work. And then Warner Brothers had to be like, hey, we're working on it. And I'm like, now you can't even get digital codes working properly. And I didn't really care because I don't really use codes that much. But I still find that to be kind of funny. And here's the thing about this set. I think it is an upgrade over the previous Blu-ray sets in terms of the transfers for all these films. And you not only get like the director's cut of Rocky 4 here, but you also get the director's cut of Rocky Balboa. I haven't seen either one, but I haven't heard good things about the director's cut of Rocky 4. And it definitely is one of those things where I feel it does benefit from the 4K format. I do. I think these films do benefit from it, but these aren't going to be discs that are necessarily, let's just say, reference quality. They're good, but I wouldn't consider them to be stellar in terms of their transfers. You also don't get any Atmos tracks or anything in terms of the sound mix. It's the same sound mix as from before. Rocky in particular sounds really anemic when it comes to its 5.1 sound mix. It just sounds really flat to me. And I don't know if I remember it sounding that flat before on the Blu-ray, but it's been a while since I've watched the Blu-ray, so that might have always been the case, but it does. It sounds really flat. The original 2.0 or mix sounds way better, and that's like a mix that has some added surround effects, so it's not even like it's the original sound mix. And there's no new features, and on top of that, it's missing features. This set came with the bonus disc from the previous collection with the first 4 films. It doesn't include a bonus disc that includes all of the other features from the legacy Blu-ray sets, like the Undisputed collection or the Heavyweight collection. So what I wound up doing is, because I had the Undisputed collection, I just took the useless Rocky 1 through 4 bonus disc, because in all honesty, it's really not full of anything really that great. Like a couple featurettes, the making of the director's cut of Rocky 4, which honestly I feel is completely useless and just an excuse for Stallone to pontificate in front of the camera for an hour. Like, what is even the point of that? Like, it's not even like it's a making of Rocky 4. It's a making of this director's cut that I can't even think of anyone who was actually asking for it, including Rocky fans. But so what I did is I took the bonus disc from the Undisputed collection and put it in there, because it has the 3-part making of documentary in the first movie and a bunch of other features that are not included in this set. And there are still features that were included on the Blu-ray of Rocky or the 2-disc DVD of Rocky back in the day that have not been ported over to this set or the other Blu-ray sets for whatever reason. So that is disappointing. I have to admit that. Like they really didn't put a lot of thought into that. They they're the ones that got knocked out, and instead of being the ones that deliver the knockout blow when it comes to how they handled the special features with this set. Um, so that's why, in all honesty, I would wait till the price goes down on this uh, because I don't know if I could justify the 100 plus price tag that it's going for right now in terms of how much it's going to cost you, like over $100 or close to that for this 4K set. I didn't pay that much because I got it from an eBay seller, so I only paid like 86. But even then, that's pretty. That's pretty steep. But you do get all the films all in one set, and so that is definitely a plus in terms of buying the other set that only has the first four and then buying 5 and 6 separately, because if you do that, then you're going to buy a set that more than likely needs a replacement discs, and then you got to contact Warner Brothers and get replacement discs, and then it's kind of a hassle. But yeah, if you're a diehard fan, I mean, I'm pretty sure you've probably already pre-ordered this if you have a 4K setup. But yeah, I'm really glad to have it, but I will admit, like, it's not going to be a release of the year. But it's good. I think it's more of a TKO though than an outright knockout. Now, these are just some titles I got from Big Lots and from Goodwill. Now, this one I only got because this is out of print. Kino Lorber did a release of this, but it's been out of print for years. Mill Creek's release is also out of print, so I got it for only like $3.99. I was like, sure, for the collection, why not? I've always been kind of curious about this film because of the cast, so I decided to pick it up because I only had it on DVD. Speaking of Big Lots, it seems like there's a lot of Big Lots across the U.S. that are closing down, and there's a potential that Big Lots in general might just go away fairly soon because they're not doing well financially. So you might want to check out a local Big Lots to see if they're having like a closeout sale on their physical media, because you could probably wind up getting some good deals. A lot of their titles, though, are really not anything that great, at least not to me personally. But if you're trying to fill in some holes in your collection, you could probably do that for pretty cheap if you can find a Big Lots that is closing down near you. Um, these ones I only got because they were half off at Goodwill. So I got Walk of Shame because I actually don't mind Elizabeth Banks when she's just acting. When she's directing and trying to be some kind of political advocate, I'm not really a big fan of that, but decided to grab that because honestly, I like the idea of it. I thought it could be fun. Got this because I actually enjoy this movie. This is. I know some people are like, what? But I legitimately do enjoy this movie. Like, it's one of the few rom coms that I legitimately find to be entertaining because I thought Kristen Bell and Josh Duhamel were really good together, and I like the concept of it with the coin and everything. And then I also picked up this comedy, Role Models. I have fun with this one. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember not minding it the last time that I saw it, and they only had it on DVD. So for half off for like $2.50 per Blu-ray, I was like, sure. And these are the titles that I got from Kino Lorber. So this is my first Kino Lorber order, and that's the order that included North Dallas 40. So I got Burt Reynolds and Heat because I have all of the other Burt Reynolds Kino Lorber releases from the 80s, and I'm a fan of Burt. And I like a lot of his action films that he did around this time, like Malone and Stick. So I'm looking forward to checking out Heat sometime. Like this is definitely the more obscure Heat. Like when you're talking, I'm watching Heat. Like, oh yeah, Michael Mann's Heat. I'm like, no, Burt Reynolds is Heat. Like you're like, what? Burt Reynolds is Heat. And speaking of Burt Reynolds, also got Rent a Cop. I enjoy this one. I have fun with this one. This one's, in my opinion, one of his more underrated films. I'm not super big on Liza Minnelli, but I can deal with her in this. I mainly like it for Burt and for James Remar, who plays the villain in it. Um, so yeah, Rent a Cop, and then I got this film, The Best of Times. In my opinion, another really underrated, really good football movie. Like this is one of my favorite films dealing with like a reunion type plot line. You know, where you have these characters, they get back together and they replay some event after all these years, but this time around they play this game again, this football game. uh, and it's a really unique, interesting idea where you have these adults who play this game again, that they played back when they were kids, when they were teenagers in high school. So it's a rematch, and I love the cast. I think having Robin Williams and Kurt Russell in this film really makes it stand out. And Robin did a good job, and Kurt is great in it. He's very charismatic, and I think Roger Spottiswoode did a good job directing it. And yeah, I've always enjoyed this movie. Like I first saw it on like VHS one time, and I was like, wow, this is great. And been wanting to see it get a Blu-ray for a while now, and then Kino Lorber came in and scored a touchdown. Um, Also picked up this film, The Beast. This is a pretty overlooked war movie. This release is this is, I have to admit, this release is kind of disappointing compared to, I think it was Imprint who did a release, and that had like a ton of features, and this doesn't import any of them over, but that release is out of print. So I was like, all right, I'll just go with the bare bones release, I guess, because at least it's in Blu-ray format. Because I only had it on DVD. But yeah, The Beast, directed by Kevin Reynolds. And then I also got this one, Target, with Gene Hackman and Matt Dillon, which I also have fun with. I think this one's a pretty entertaining thriller, especially for the duo of Gene Hackman and Matt Dillon. And then the rest of the titles here are all from Umbrella, from their recent sale, which was really good. Like they had a really good sale recently. And so I decided to grab The Tunnel, one of my personal favorite found footage films. And I got this set that features Cannonball Run and 2. Now, here is here's a disclaimer about this set. If you do pick this set up and you have a soundbar or a sound system from Samsung in particular, like if you have the Samsung Q990 series, like the B or the C or the D, make sure to change the sound mode to standard when you're watching the Cannonball Run. Otherwise, you will have no sound. I don't know why, but that's just an issue. For whatever reason, the 5.1 and 2.0 sound mixes, they just do not play properly in adaptive mode or surround mode on this particular set. So the only way you're gonna get sound is if you just go with standard, which I don't get it at all. But that's that's the reason why. And there's actually a couple. There's another one that has a similar issue like that for some reason. There's like two different Blu-rays that I got from Umbrella that have a similar problem with the sound mix. I don't know why. Maybe it's something to do with the Australian sound mixing or what they did to create the discs. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely there. I also picked this one up, Mask, because this actually includes the theatrical cut, as well as the director's cut. And I only had this on DVD, and I wanted to get something that had the theatrical cut. It is in standard definition though, but that's better than nothing. And then I also got this Krull because I love Krull, and the only other Krull release that I had was the U.S. release from Mill Creek, and this was really cheap. And the main reason why I got it is because of the fact that it ports over the features from the DVD that were not ported over on the Mill Creek release, because that's bare bones. But it is region locked though. So some of these releases are region locked. Some of them aren't. Like Cannibal Run and 1 and 2 aren't. The Tunnel isn't. I don't believe the Mask is. Remember correctly. I mean Mask, not the Mask. But I'm not 100% sure on that either. But I know Krull is, because Krull is like a, what it is it's a overseas release from Sony that they just repackaged. That's really what that is. Now, the other Umbrella releases I got, Sky Pirates. Now, this is the other disc that has an audio problem. I don't know why, but maybe it has to do with the fact that it only has a 2.0 track, and if you try to use surround or adaptive, which is normally for 5.1 or 7.1 sound mixes, it can't replicate that properly, so it sounds awful. So if you want to watch the film in a way that's actually watchable, you have to use standard if you have a Samsung soundbar. So that's another word of caution there for you. The rest of these, though, everything's fine. Flesh and Blood. Another one that Kino did years ago, but it went out of print. I like this one. It's marketed in its posters, like it's a fantasy film. It's not. It's more of a medieval movie. And it's got a Rutger Hauer documentary on it, which I'm really looking forward to checking out. It's got an interview with Beza Polidorus, which I'm looking forward to. An interview with Paul Verhoeven as well. So that's Flesh and Blood. And then I also got this. This is Stigmata. I don't know about this cover art. It's okay, but like, here's one thing that Umbrella needs to work on is their cover art, because it's just kind of meh. Like even Flesh and Blood is kind of dull. This one's good, but this is the poster art. That's why it looks good, because it's the poster art. When they're doing like original artwork, they really need to work on it, because this is just, I just think it's boring looking. It's not very eye catching. But yeah, Stigmata, only had it on DVD, and the Scream Factory release is out of print, so I didn't want to pay those prices, so decided to just get the Umbrella release. And then the other Umbrella Entertainment title I got is this. This is the Howling Collection. This includes Howling 3, 4, 5, and 6. I had DVDs. I mean, I still have DVDs of 3, 4, 5, and 6. But the quality is just about as good as what's on here. Except Howling 3 actually has a remaster on it, or the remastered print that they used for their Blu-ray release, and probably the same transfer that Shout Factory or Scream Factory used. And 5 and 6, it was on a double feature that wasn't really that great. And it was really cheap, and I just wanted to, get it, because that way I have all of the Howling sequels after 2 all in one place. And it's also got this really cool cover art. That's a pretty cool looking cover art. And in all honesty, I like Howling 3 for how batshit insane it is. Howling 6, I don't mind. Howling 4 and 5 are boring and pretty lame, though. But, for the collection, I'm not getting New Moon Rising, though. And I don't care about Howling Reborn unless I find that for dirt cheap somewhere. But yeah, that's the titles that I decided to add to my collection fairly recently. And then I'm just, like I said, I'm going to head to Dawn of the Discs and I'm just going to look through it for a little bit, share my thoughts on some upcoming releases. So I'm here on Dawn of the Discs, and you have Bringing Out the Dead with Nicolas Cage, which is getting a 4K from Paramount, which is coming out in September. And definitely looking forward to that, but I'll probably wait for the standard release. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it because Bringing Out the Dead is a great movie. And it's been in dire need of a 4K for a while. I don't even know if it even got a Blu-ray release now that I'm thinking about it. Hack-O-Lantern is getting 4K. I'm like, why? Massacre Video is releasing it. I'm like, a Hack-O-Lantern 4K? Like, that's a prime example of a film that does not need a 4K. We don't need a 4K of Hack-O-Lantern. Like, that film being on Blu-ray was a stretch as it is. But that's just me personally. I know a lot of people will disagree with me vehemently, but I don't really believe that it needs a 4K by any means. Vinegar Syndrome, they're gonna do Devil Times 5, a 4K of that. So if you're a huge fan of that movie, that's something to look forward to. I am fine with the Blu-ray that I have of that somewhere. Like, I don't think it's like a great film. And there's another one where I'm kind of like, is that really gonna benefit that much from 4K? I don't really think so. Kevin Costner's Horizon Chapter 1 is getting a 4K if you want to watch a 3-hour long Western that seems like it's a bunch of cutscenes and deleted scenes that are loosely interconnected with one another. But if you're not really into that, then I would probably skip that. Like, what the hell is Kevin Costner thinking, man, with this whole thing? Oh, I'm gonna quit Yellowstone, even though Paramount and the studio is willing to finance a mini series of Horizon. But I'm gonna quit Yellowstone instead, and I'm gonna go do this 4-part, 3-hour long. Well, 3-hour long is not really accurate. More like 12-hour long Western epic in a day and age where nobody gives a flying fuck about Westerns. Especially when it comes to seeing them in the theater. And I'm gonna spend all this money, including a large chunk of my own money, to finance this vanity project. And oh, it didn't do well. The 3-hour long Western wasn't a successful venture when it comes to my finances, and it bombed, and the Yellowstone audience didn't come in droves to go see my movie, and now part 2 is in limbo and it's not getting a theatrical release, and who knows about 3 and 4. Wow, what a stunning revelation that the most obvious scenario occurred when it comes to this Horizon series of films by Kevin Costner. You should have just taken the deal from Paramount, made this into a streaming miniseries, because that's really what it should be, and stayed a part of Yellowstone and worked with the showrunner, who I know you're not a fan of him, but suck it up. Like, I guess he was upset because the showrunner told him to just act. And I'm like, he's not wrong. Like, you were hired when it comes to this series to act. You were not hired to be the producer, the writer, the director. And Costner, to me, he's always been honestly an overrated director. Like, he did a really good job with Dances with Wolves as his first film as a director, and that kind of went to his head a little bit because he got Oscars. And then he did some other stuff after that, directing wise. It wasn't too bad, but I think Wyatt Earp is really when his ego went into overdrive, and he got just really jealous over the success of Tombstone, and to this day he still is. Like, he has this whole like mindset that he's the real Wyatt Earp, or well, not he's not that delusional, but he has the mindset. I'm the real cowboy. I'm the real Western guy. The Kurt Russell and George P. Cosmatos, they were posers. And all of this sort of stuff. And then he did crap like The Postman, which was terrible. And I'm just like, you look at his filmography, you're like, you're not even really that great of a director, except for that one-off that you did with Dances with Wolves. So I'm like, I don't understand why he has this massive ego that he does, but he has it, and he's now made his own Heaven's Gate. That's basically what he's done with Horizon. Um, Arrow's gonna do Chronicles of Riddick. That could look really good in 4K, but I'm not really that uh buzzed or that hyped about a 4K of that movie because I don't think it's that great of a film. Village of the Damned, the remake by John Carpenter. It's one of the few titles that Scream Factory just recently announced, like I think like a month ago or like a few weeks ago. I'm fine with the Blu-ray of that one. I don't need it. I don't need the 4K. I feel the same way about The Strangers. Like, I don't need the 4K of that, or the Amityville Horror remake with Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, so I get to see Ryan Reynolds' overacting in 4K. No thanks. Or that awful CGI of that ghost girl at the end of the movie. I like Ryan Reynolds quite a bit, but he was horribly miscast in that movie, and he's trying way too hard in that film. Like, when he's trying to be intimidating and scary, he's just mean mugging the camera with a frown and on his face. And he's like almost to the point where you'd expect to hear him growling or grunting, and he's got his shirt off and he's flexing all the time. It's just, I don't get, I don't get it. Why is Scream Factory releasing that in 4K? It's like a lot of their decisions. It's like the Phantoms, like that probably would have been fine as a Blu-ray. Um, RoboCop 2, I'm pretty I'm definitely a fan of that. I'm like, good. Get that in 4K. I'm all about that. Or Darkman. But Phantoms, Dracula 2000, a collector's edition of Lost in Space. And then you have releases like this, the Amityville Horror remake. Oh, and speaking of remakes, RoboCop. Yeah, RoboCop in 4K. It's definitely what people want. So I don't get it. I don't understand what they're doing. I think they're just releasing shit for the sake of releasing it at this point because they got the rights. And this is exactly what I was afraid of, and this is exactly what I predicted was going to happen eventually with Scream Factory. They were gonna run out of titles to release that already had like really established fan bases or unique cult titles. So now they're stuck with films that they're able to obtain the rights to for distribution, but they're films that people are like, well, this is already on Blu-ray for like super cheap, or I don't care about The Boy in 4K. So yeah, it's kind of depressing. Or Doomsday, or re-releasing the Steelbook of Creepshow. Man, a lot of scalpers who scalped the shit out of that steelbook from Walmart are going to be pissed. Speaking of steelbooks, there's a ton of steelbook re-releases that have been announced from various different sources and different places, from different studios, like Blade and the Goonies and the Sleepy Hollow steelbook. And I'm like, just can you release something new? Like, what is with all these re-releases of steelbooks? Like, I don't really care about that. I'm more curious about stuff like the Return of the Living Dead 3 uncut version that was unearthed, and maybe an upcoming 4K of that. Or stuff like Sudden Death in 4K with Van Damme, which Kino Lorber is doing. Speaking of Kino Lorber, they're also going to be doing The Hunted with Tommy Lee Jones. So I'm looking forward to that because the other Blu-ray is just kind of bare bones, and I think that film could really benefit from a proper 4K remaster. Stardust, visually that is a film that does have some nice looking scenes. So I think, for the visuals, it might be worth it to grab it in 4K. But other than that, I mean, it's not like it's the greatest film ever. And what about Galaxy Quest? Galaxy Quest turns 25 this year. Where's the 4K of that? Nowhere to be found, I guess. There's a new collection of the Tremors films that has all 7 of the films instead of just the 6 films from the previous set, which I have, which is a Walmart exclusive. Godzilla -1 is getting a 4K set. Late Night with the Devil is getting a limited edition steelbook Blu-ray. The Hitcher from Second Sight. Just this has potential to be the release of the year. It really does. Because you got this new transfer with HDR and Dolby Vision. You got a Dolby Atmos track. You got an interview with Robert Harmon, the director, an interview with Eric Red, the writer. You got an interview with C. Thomas Howell. Yeah, a new interview with C. Thomas Howell. You got an interview with John Seal, an interview with Mark Isham. You got Robert Harmon's short films, another short film by Eric Red, some other, features from previous releases, audio commentary tracks. You got a 200-page hardback book. So yeah, that has potential to be like the release of the year. But it's also going to be hard to top the Super Mario Brothers release by Umbrella, because that is quite quite the box set. Just looking up further here, Dawn of the Discs. Yeah, The Hitcher. Kino Lorber is going to be doing Radioland Murders, which I'm looking forward to. That's a film with Mary Stuart Masterson and Brian Benben, which is pretty overlooked, and I'm looking forward to grabbing that on Blu-ray. Euphoria, which is another overlooked film with Cindy Williams, Harry Dean Stanton, and Fred Ward. That's finally going to get a release in HD. I think it's going to be a 4K release, which I'm looking forward to that quite a bit, because that film has been stuck in relative obscurity for far too long. I saw a VHS rip of it years ago, and I was like, this is a quirky, weird, fun film. And I've been kind of waiting for a DVD release or a Blu-ray release ever since. And now I'm going to get a 4K release. So that's something I'm definitely going to be looking forward to. There's going to be a steelbook of Body Double in 4K. I'm all about that. In fact, I might, depending on how much that is, I might pre-order that. That's a little steep, $45.99. It comes out in September. I might add it to like something I might pre-order with a bunch of other stuff from like Diabolique or something. But I definitely want to grab that sometime. I have the Blu-ray from Indicator, but I definitely wouldn't mind getting the 4K, because I think that film could definitely benefit from a 4K transfer. I know there are people who are divided on Body Double when it comes to Brian De Palma's filmography, but it's one of my personal favorites of his. It's one of my favorite suspense thrillers. of the 1980s. Kino Lorber is also going to be doing a 4K of Cowboys and Aliens, but because of something that was going on with the disc and with the whole process, it doesn't have HDR, so that's a deal breaker for you. Probably would say skip it. Gummo is getting a 4K from Criterion if you're really into that movie. I'm not, so it's not like a huge, massive announcement for me personally. I know it is for other people. Wind River, in my opinion, a really underrated thriller by Taylor Sheridan is going to get a 4K steelbook within like the next month or two. Link is going to get a 4K from Kino Lorber, but I think it's just like the same features and everything. It just has a new 4K transfer. Um, just looking up further here. Sorry, just there's a lot, and I'm not really seeing anything I really want to talk about just yet. Hush. If you like Mike Flanagan's Hush, Mike actually mentioned through social media or an interview somewhere that it's in the works to get a release from Shout from Scream Factory sometime. I think later this year. Um, Imprint, they announced a Blair Witch Project collection set, as well as releases of the Antichrist, Superstition, Death Valley, and a 4K limited edition set of the Suspiria remake. So if you're a big fan of the Suspiria remake, that might be something up your alley. Keep in mind, though, since it's an MGM title, there is a pretty high chance that it could be released by a different label in the US. So the Imprint box set might not necessarily worth the price tag. And the only other thing, the Ring, the American remake, that's getting a 4K. Ghost is getting a 4K release from Paramount. And the last thing I want to mention is the upcoming 4K of the Terminator. And yes, it's going to be supervised by James Cameron and Park Road Post yet again. The same people that supervised the disastrous 4Ks of Aliens and True Lies. And I don't want to terminate all hope just yet because Aliens and True Lies were like the first pass of this AI, and Titanic and The Abyss were like the third or fourth, and they looked considerably better and not as bad. So I'm hoping that maybe the same could be said about the Terminator. But knowing James Cameron and his tastes and how he hates film grain, I'm expecting the worst. I really am, and I'm hoping that I'm wrong. But I'm just gonna expect the worst considering James Cameron's OCD tendencies when it comes to film grain. And I'm also not expecting the original sound mix either. I'm just not expecting that because that's something James Cameron probably doesn't want on there. Uh, so it's one that I'm cautiously optimistic about because I love the Terminator, and I've been wanting to see that get a 4K release for a long time, but I just knowing Cameron and his tendencies, I'm really leery about it. So I'm going to expect the worst and hope for the best. But anyway, until the next installment of Physical Media Madness, thanks for watching. And as always, I'll see you later. See ya.